but I do not have a business background, so he's been invaluable in that regard, to say the least. So it works well, and we're learning, and we're almost to our first year anniversary.
Really?
So
Yes.
since you've had the cake, I'm going to focus a bit. Sorry to keep crowding you out. I'm going to focus a bit on the history of the franchise. Do any of you know about the history, how it started? Those of you who are entrepreneurs who are thinking about doing something off the grid, that's your passion. These two ladies, Dina and Debbie, they did it and they pulled it off big time. So what happened was they met in the process of one of them trying to find a job. The other one actually interviewed her for a position, and they ended up being friends. And one of them had cake recipes, and the other one had, what do you think?
The business act.
Business acumen, definitely, but also the frosting. You can't have cake without frosting. If you've had the frosting, you know it's amazing. It's the original frosting from 1997. It hasn't changed from the original recipe. And they've continued to work on recipes to bring new flavors and kind of keep people engaged and interested. And they're obviously amazing what they're pulling off. So they started in a house in Vegas. And they showed a picture to us of the 1970-ish kitchen. It looked like a house that hadn't been remodeled from 1970, but they started in 1997 in this little teeny kitchen with small cabinets. And they started baking and taking cakes out to friends and family and local business, which is still the model that's used for marketing today. It's still taking cake out to people. So they have stuck with that tried and true. It works, and they've had to deal with some shifting. Obviously there's Facebook and there's all kinds of technology and marketing options that they maybe either couldn't afford or didn't know about at the time. So changing with the times is a challenge for them because they want to keep it kind of home-like, you know, it's a hometown bakery feel, and we are locals, so we definitely follow the model perfectly, but some of the owners don't follow it as closely and they have to make some adaptations, which is just a challenge, especially right now. So they met, they put their recipes together, they started in a kitchen, and then they started a storefront, and they were shocked by the turnout. So there was a big need for cake. So next goal, storefront successful, was to tackle Vegas, and they became a household name in Vegas, opened numerous bakeries around the city, and then where do you go from there? They weren't going to just rest. So they kind of hit that point where do they stop, stay in Vegas, or reach out, and it was a no-brainer that it would go big. So the next step was to determine, do they own the bakeries as they branch out, or do they franchise? And they decided that the franchise model would be more manageable for them. They could be involved in choosing the people and still have their hands in the business, but not have to have their hands in every business. So they went with the franchise model. Thank God they did. They franchised 11 years ago now. So even though we're new to the Chicagoland area, relatively new, 8 years ago, I think the very first one opened in the Chicagoland area, it has been around, you know, longer. They've been around over 20 years with the business, but 10 years in franchising, 11 now. It was 10 when we opened. So these two ladies, one of them, when they went into the franchise mode, went back to the original bakery and is now back in Vegas running her original bakery, and the other one, Debbie, is still in the business, and she is really involved with the direction that everything moves in. Any changes that are made, she's at all of our meetings. When we looked at storefronts, tried to determine our spot, she actually came to Gurnee, drove around with us when we had our final 3 options. So as you can imagine, it's not a typical business, right? We've got a great combination of support, family, definitely a family orientation. The bakery owners are very involved with each other and sharing ideas. And because I came from a teaching background, it pretty much mirrors in that regard. So there are a lot of things that I loved about teaching. If you don't know, I taught science for 13 years, middle school science. And the things that I loved about teaching, I would have to say, were being around people and leading and not knowing what's coming, because you never know what's coming. You think you do, but you don't. I'm trying to think what else. There was a lot. It was a